Well, that was odd. Welcome, everybody, to my journey into going through the horror genre. As you guys know, I have like 3 different top 10 lists this year. I'm going to do, instead of just Korean dramas, I'm going to do a Netflix top 10 shows list. I'm going to do my top 10 movies and, of course, the top 10 horror movies of this year. And one of those that is in strong consideration is the brand new film I just watched called Oddity. This is an IFC Productions or distributed film, and it is directed by Damon McCarthy, and the film centers around a blind medium and Kiro's shopkeeper who is grieving the death of her twin sister a year prior. A wooden mannequin from her cabinet of curiosities becomes crucial to her quest to uncover the truth about her sister's murder. So right off the bat, let me just start by saying this movie is one of the most interesting premises I've seen in a couple of years. There's a lot of twists and turns, some things I saw coming, some things I didn't see coming. Gwen Lee and Caroline Bracken are really good. So, hello, Arius Scott, and thank you. So, Gwen Lee and Caroline Bracken are probably the highlights. A lot of this is centered around their characters. So I'm just going to go through the good, the bad, give you guys my rating and my overall gist of the plot and how it all comes together. But the basic premise is intriguing. There is an actor essentially playing 2 parts of the same person. So you have Caroline Bracken, who is basically playing both Diana and Darcy, the 2 mediums that are supposed to be twin sisters, with very different performances and very different sort of attributes. The one sister, I believe it's Darcy, is blind. And hello, Carmen, good to see you here. And so the one sister, Darcy, is blind, kind of implied that she's psychic in ability. And Diana is the twin sister with none of the abilities. However, she starts having psychic premonitions about her twin sister's death years ago, having to do with this weird-ass mummy-looking thing and all of these artifacts and relics that her sister has accumulated. It's a really weird horror movie in the sense that it's a murder mystery horror blend kind of a deal. So there is horror it's heavily a horror movie, but it's also at its core very much unpacking the mystery of what this twin sister was into, and they throw the normal red herrings. There's like people who didn't like the sister. There's a little bit of conspiracy here and there with the governors. It's set in like a Victorian era, so there's like this governor who didn't like her very much. Blind people were kind of shunned at this time because disabilities are the devil. So there's a lot of different moving parts to this. Hey, Christine, how are you doing? Welcome to my non-spoiler review of Oddity. But basically, let me start off with all the positives. One being, this movie is absolutely positively gorge. The Victorian aesthetic has always been kind of on my big things that I like in a movie, but there's doing the Victoria era like, generic, stereotypical, throw a few corsets, dirty looking streets and call it a day. But this is shot in a way that makes you feel like you're back in the era. There's lots of mist. It's got a very London-esque vibe to it. The dialogue, and that's a big thing that I hate in horror movies. They never seem to focus on the dialect and the speech patterns of the characters. If you're going to be in a Victorian, London-esque kind of era, you have to have that old English. Not very many actors can get it. And ironically enough, I think the actress is from England herself. Let me just look this up. But I'm pretty sure she is. Oh, no. But she is Irish. So they're able to transition a lot better, I feel, than American to that old worldy kind of speak. So she does a fantastic job. And a lot of this does rest on like 3 or 4. There's only like 6 actors in this whole entire movie. So a lot of it is hinged on your main character actually being compelling enough to keep the audience invested. And I think they do a good job. And once again, as I have on my thumbnail, the mummy thing is creepy as shit. They do a lot, not jump scare, but a lot of slow build up where instead of doing the dome, they do like the music building up, which is a lot better on my ears. I'm so tired of jump scares. So when you hear the music start to get louder, that's when the creepy shit happens instead of adding the extra sound effects, which I appreciate. And the mystery is compelling. The mystery had me a little bit thrown off. You had a little twist and turns. There were even some things I couldn't pick up by the end of the movie and what is actually happening, which it pivots to the big premise is this supernatural or was this woman just weird and actually not a psychic? She was just a phony and a fraud and out of her fucking mind. And the way that they do this really gives you doubts a lot throughout the movie, which is obviously intended by the director. So you're kind of questioning, like, is she just crazy or is this actually happening? And about the third act, you get your answer. And I like that too. They don't tell you right away, even by the third act, until something specifically happens, you are legitimately questioning, is this a supernatural movie or is it just a straight up murder mystery and this woman was just nuts and somebody killed her because they didn't like her? You don't know. Or was this mannequin fucked up looking mummy thing the culprit? So that's the general gist and the idea. And I gotta say, they pull off the mystery aspect. They don't leave it in the background like some horror movies that just go full bore into crazy shit. And then you're like, oh, I like the mystery. They really toy with you till the end of the movie. And it feels satisfying. And another thing is, I think they leave enough clues, as mysteries should do, for you to follow. This has a lot of rewatchability because you can go in once you get your answer and figure out throughout the movie, like, oh shit, they were kind of always leading to this. I was just so enthralled in the initial mystery, I wasn't looking underneath the surface. So I think this has high rewatchability. My only real complaint about this is there is the second act, as in a lot of these Victorian era movies, where it kind of drags. There's a lot of talking, there's a lot of clue gathering, and you need that, but it's very much feels like it's in there to slow down the pace because this movie is not that long. So it really feels like a way to break down the pace. And I don't know how I feel about that because they got such good momentum in the opening and then it kind of crawls a little bit. And then that third act just ties it all together. So I'm really on the fence on how I feel about that. That does hinder rewatchability because you get to the middle portion. Maybe knowing what I know, it adds some context to why it was so slow. But, I got to pick out my negatives. That's one thing. Also, too, the effects. This is a lower budget movie. The effects are spotty in certain areas. There's little things and a couple of things with the cameras that were jarring. There's one scene in particular where the camera does a weird freaking freak out thing, and I got a little bit nauseous. Especially on a big screen. But other than that, this was a pretty solid movie. This has been a year of horror. I think just for the sheer technical ability and the love and care that went into this movie is astonishing. And this movie was did $1 million in the box office. I think it's on like not even $1 million budget. I feel like this has a very low budget. I'd have to look it up. But I'm pretty sure the budget was like in the thousands. This isn't a big budgeted film, and it still did $1 million. So a lot of people are vibing with this, and I could see why. Will it make it on my top 10 horror list? Maybe. It's definitely a solid film, but we still have Alien Romulus, and we still have Terrifier 3. I still got Long Legs on there. That's going to be tough as shit to dethrone. You have Abigail and other movies that have come out, that I think are more compelling for me, at least. than this was. With all that being said, if you're a fan of the Victorian era horror, if you're a fan of a murder mystery as opposed to just like supernatural, don't get me wrong, there's scary as shit scenes in here, but I think this appeals to a person who's not just 100% into horror, then this might be the movie for you, because there is an underlying mystery throughout this movie that I think will engage those kinds of people who like putting stuff together. It's a very well-crafted mystery. If you're in it for blood and gore and all of the horror stuff, I think this is not that kind of movie. There is very scary things. There's a couple of very violent things, but it's not going for that. It's going for what's going on and, oh, look at this creepy thing moving around. That's pretty much the shtick of this movie. All in all, I would give this movie a 7 for me, maybe a 7.5, closer to 8. I think more 7.5, 8. I'd have to rewatch it again, and it may go up to an 8. It's just really the second half of the movie, or the middle portion, that drug it down for me. I hate slow down, especially when you built up such a cool intro, and then you just grind it to a halt. And I get why they did it, but I think with the movie being like an hour and a half, an hour, 45 minutes around that runtime, you don't need to slow it up for exposition. You could still keep things moving while telling the mystery that you want to. So all in all, it wasn't a bad film. I definitely enjoyed it, and I would definitely recommend it. It's definitely in the upper tier of horror movies that I've seen. These high production from low studios or smaller studios doing high quality movie making, and a lot of passion in this film. And I really appreciate that, considering I've been watching like Wolverine and Deadpool and then these other big blockbusters. I got a review coming out for Kong. I know I'm super late on it, but Godzilla versus Kong, I got a review coming out for that. And going from those movies to this is a breath of fresh air, seeing somebody who cares and wants to put some love and attention into this kind of a film. So in the comments below, let me know, have you seen the movie Oddity? What did you think about it? Is this on your top horror films? I mean, it didn't quite do it for me, but, you know, some horror people just like atmosphere, and this is definitely heavy atmosphere. Do you like murder mysteries and thought this was a good mystery? In the comments below, let me know. Also tonight, I will be on Perp Minded's channel to talk about Deadpool. I'm guessing it's going to be a spoiler, a shit review, so if you haven't seen the movie or haven't been spoiled yet, I wouldn't suggest watching it. But if you have and you want to join the chat, go over, check out Perp's channel. It's going to be 9 p.m. Central time or Eastern time, but 8 p.m. Central for me. So go check out his channel, show him some love, and thank you everybody for watching. I will have more consistent, even if it's a video shot like this, of different movie reviews. And coming up, I have a top 10 list and that I'm still gathering my notes on. And later this week, we will have our heroes versus villains in the Star Wars universe for the top hero and or villain in the entire Star Wars universe. There'll be a battle type thing that we did with Stallone versus Arnold movies. So come check us out. That's going to be this Wednesday with Chris Knight, Pop Culture PB, Justin Proper, and myself. So it should be a fun little discussion and disagreement or agreement. Who knows? We agreed with a lot of the villains list, so who knows where we're going to land. And I have my next review coming out, which is going to be on Kong and Godzilla. Kong, Godzilla, the team-up movie. That's next. Ugh. Anyways, thank you everybody for watching. And as always, remember, there is only one rule here on the channel: kneel before General Zod.